Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. Seth Kamens is over where? And I'm Sean Palmer over here. Seth will be joining us momentarily here on the Seth and Sean Sports Radio Show. It's kind of interesting. We're no longer on the radio, but we still call it the radio show. Anyway, live from Atlanta, beautiful day here in Atlanta, and we're just waiting for Seth to join. We got a couple of things talking about this week. Number one being the fact that James Franklin, and I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it on the hit. I'm sure Seth will give it to me, and I'll go through it again when Seth gets on. But obviously, my prediction of Penn State winning the national championship, much to the dismay of Christy Rizzo, much to the dismay of a lot of my friends, was incorrect. It can't be any further from the truth. They are 3-3. They have bought out their coach, James Franklin, massive amounts of money. And here we are. Seth is having problems finding the link. And massive amounts of problems with with Drew Allar getting hurt, with James Franklin. Seth is having problems with Facebook. All right. So, massive amounts of problems. They have bought out James Franklin. I'm not exactly sure who they're going to get. This is part of why Seth is the main person when it comes to college football. And Seth is now joined. So, Seth Kamens. So, we were just talking about how I am taking a mea culpa for my Penn State prediction. I think I'm wrong. I don't think they're winning the national championship. I don't think there's any – well, you know what? They could go on a run, I guess, and make the playoff. It's technically – they're 3-3. It's technically possible. It won't happen.
No, it's not.
It's not. No three-loss team, unless they win the conference, can go to the playoff. And that means they would have to overtake 3 games on Ohio State in their division.
Wait, why can't no 3-loss team make it?
Because the only way a team with 3 losses is going to qualify.
Yeah.
Like Clemson last year, is they won the ACC championship.
Okay, but last year there weren't 12 teams.
Yes, there were.
Oh, yeah, there were. Last year was the first one. So if there's no feasible way for a 3-loss team to ever make it.
Clemson was an anomaly because they were 9-3, but they were like 7-1 in the ACC. So they got to play in the ACC championship game against SMU, and then they beat SMU.
Okay, so 3 things are definitive. Number one, Penn State is not winning the national championship. Number 2, Penn State is not playing in the playoff. And number 3, Curt Cignetti is not going to Penn State. Those
seem to be 3
pretty definitive things that are happening. And I think there's a lot to be said with Curt Cignetti for those who are unaware of who we are talking about. He is the coach at the football powerhouse known as Indiana University. And
yes.
Seth and I smile, but it's true. Indiana is a football school. Who would have thought? I mean, in the basketball capital of the world, being Indiana, we have a football school. What does this say? Does this say about college sports that it may not be only the blue bloods, but rather it's the public universities that you can put a line between public universities and private universities as to who can afford what. because nowhere in my mind did I ever think that Indiana would pony up $11 million for a coach for football. For basketball, I could see it. For football, this was never on the horizon for me.
Oh, I believe there is a threshold that everybody has to hit at this point with their face. So it's $21 million. I think Indiana just happened to use it really well. They bring in Fernando Mendoza from Cal, who is now one of the Heisman favorites. Their lines are really good. This is the single most impressive victory of the season. They went to Oregon and beat Oregon. Not fluky. They went there and outplayed them and beat them. And Curt Cignetti, who was 2 years ago coaching at James Madison, making like $500,000 a year. The team is 17-2 under him. It doesn't feel like they're going away anytime soon. And in a year where the SEC, let's be honest, is not overwhelmingly strong. Look, they'll get their 3 or 4 teams in, but there's not going to be a favorite to win the title there.
Sure.
The only team that you can definitively think is better probably is Ohio State. And
so is this a quarterback? So we've seen this before at many schools. New coach brings in new quarterback. New quarterback is tremendous. And new quarterback leaves new coach. New coach doesn't have the magic. It's the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady syndrome. Is this a situation where it is, yes, Curt Cignetti did great things at James Madison, which is what got him the Indiana job. But is this a situation where it is the quarterback, not necessarily just right timing for Cignetti?
I don't know how you can say that.
I'm not. I'm asking the question. No, I'm not saying it at all.
He wasn't the quarterback last year.
Sure.
So they come in, they bring in, I forget the guy named Curtis. I don't remember the last name off the top of my head. I'm actually Curtis Rourke. That's who it was.
Okay.
Who was a transfer from Ohio University.
Yep.
Great for partying, not exactly a football powerhouse.
Go Bobcats.
Go Bobcats, wherever Peter King is. I'm sure he's watching the show. And they go 11-2. They go 11-1. They somewhat controversially, although I think you and I both agreed that they belonged they hadn't beaten anybody, and they played Indiana in the first round and lost. They lose, he goes to the pros. I think he's on the Steelers he's on the 49ers right now. He's the third string. They build up the lines, and suddenly they're now 6-0. They beat Illinois, who's a top 15 team, by 53. They beat Oregon, who's a top 5 team. They don't really seem to have a great weakness. And they're going to be, they're not only are they going to make the playoff most likely, they're a legit threat to make a run there too, which is mind-boggling. But that's where it is.
Well, why is it mind-boggling though? In today's, and I say this, take away the concept
because they're not spending money. Hold on. Spending money.
I get it, but take away the concept that they are Indiana, right? Let's say that they are any other state. Let's say they are Utah. Let's say they are anybody. Let's say they're Florida. Okay, if this was Florida with the same team, is it because they are, quote, Indiana that it is surprising, as opposed to the nature and composition of the team? If you put that composition of that team in Texas, or you put that composition of that team in Florida, or even Virginia, let's go to Virginia, right? Let's go to another state where it's just not Indiana in the middle of even Iowa. Let's go with Matt Campbell, right? Let's put, Kirk Ferentz. Matt Campbell's Iowa State. You put him with Kirk Ferentz, right? Yeah, I know. Look, Kirk Ferentz and Matt Campbell, the two college coaches that will never coach in the NFL, and yet every single time an NFL job comes open, it's Matt Campbell and Kirk Ferentz. But if you put them in Iowa, would you be having this same idea of they may remarkably make a run. I don't think that's true. I think it's just because they're a basketball school having a really good run.
No, I think it's the reason everyone talks about it is they're not a talent-laden team. This isn't a team like Ohio State that can get anybody they want.
Sure.
So they're not Texas Tech where they're spending $87 billion to bring in everybody.
No, they are the equivalent of Butler in basketball.
A couple years ago. Not quite at that level, but in the ballpark. So, no, I don't think Kirk Ferentz gets this team to 17-2 over 2 years. Or Matt Campbell does, as good a coach as Matt Campbell seems to be. For whatever reason, this team has significantly bought into Cignetti's philosophy. And let's be honest, and you and I both know this, winning breeds winning.
Oh, 100%.
You think if Indiana's 7-5 last year that they bring in Mendoza, that he goes there? Probably not. I mean, look, there may be enough money that it wouldn't matter. I don't know.
Well, and that's part of it too, right? It's not necessarily – it's not all things being equal anymore. It's not winning breeds winning and Ohio State wins every year, so you're always going to go to Ohio State. If Ohio State's offering you $100,000 and Indiana offers you $2 million, in all likelihood, you're going to Indiana. I mean,
I think, and I remember reading this, and I can't quote where it's from, but they had literally the talent. They ranked the talent per team.
Yeah, by stars.
Based upon high school recruiting, 5-star, 4-star, 3-star. I think Indiana was somewhere in the 60s.
Yep.
I think Ohio State was 2, Oregon was 1, or something along those lines. Indiana was like 55 or 60.
Right, they're Butler. They are Butler.
Right. They're a team that collectively is better than their individual parts.
Yep.
And the only way to credit that is to coaching. There's nothing else you can do.
I agree with that. Well, it's funny how we have talked about, and I can't remember, what's the name?
Fernando Mendoza, you're talking about?
Okay, good. Because I need to get used to that, as Mendoza will be across the back of my next Jets jersey, because that will be the new quarterback for the New York Jets.
Are you sure you don't want Drew Allar anymore?
No, I do. I actually do, but they won't. They won't.
You want them to pull Dallas Cowboys of 1990 and take Troy Aikman and Steve Walsh? You want them to take Mendoza in the first round and Allar in the second?
No, it's not going to happen. Because if the Jets are picking first overall, they're taking a quarterback.
Yes.
And if they are not picking first overall, they are not taking Drew Allar 5th overall or 6th overall. Drew Allar will go probably in the lower end of the first round, maybe upper end of the second round, probably, given that he is not playing this year, the remainder of this year. What's interesting is I looked up Drew Allar on Wikipedia, and they already have him as the former quarterback of the Penn State Nittany Lions, which is kind of rude because he's still on the team, right? He's just hurt. And it just seemed very weird. And he could always, I mean, what are we, 6 games in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen more unusual circumstances for a medical redshirt. We have. Now, do I think Drew Allar goes for a medical redshirt seeing that he is a senior? I don't know, but if we look across, it really depends on where he comes out in the draft process, because we've seen 50-year seniors go elsewhere, right? Bo Nix.
Yeah, let's be honest here. The one thing that we do know is he's not going back to Penn State.
No, that is 100%.
Because his backup, Bo Pribula, went to the University of Missouri, transferred. Once Allar decided he was coming back, and he's killing it there. So now all the Penn State fans are saying we should have kept Pribula over Allar, which didn't make a hell of a lot of sense.
It doesn't make sense because 6 of one, half dozen of the other does not exist in college
football.
The
practicality is you let up 42 points to UCLA. You lost, to Northwestern. It was not you brought in the most expensive defensive coordinator in the country in Jim Knowles at over $3 million a year. UCLA, which is winless, scores 42 on you. You lose to a pretty mediocre Northwestern team. I'm stunned they fired Franklin this quick. I am. I'm legitimately not much stuns me in sports anymore. That did, but the team is not going anywhere this year.
So two questions, and I waited for you to come on because I want these questions answered by you, not by me. Number one, Cignetti re-signing with Indiana to me is a change in philosophy. It just is. You have your Matt Campbells, you have your Curt Ferentz, and I understand I'm going back to the same two guys, but they're the only two guys that did it, right? That have stayed where they are and have not moved up the rung of the ladder and trying to get a better job. Now, is this a situation where you're going to see more coaches do this, where it's, hey, hold on. Hey, I can pay for players now. So I don't necessarily have to be Ohio State. I could be Maryland and pay $2 million for the best quarterback. And if I'm at Maryland, my expectations are a lot lower, right? I can be 7-5, 8-4, and that is a true success. It is 7-5, 8-4 for you guys is a success. You're not firing anybody for 8-4. Neither are we. So, but I can get the same type of player potentially for 1 year in the transfer portal if I pay that much money. So why would I leave to go to Penn State? Why would I leave to go to Ohio State? Why would I do that?
Well, I think a couple reasons. The number one, obviously, Cignetti's a little different. Cignetti's 65 years old.
Fair.
So I think his feeling is this I have one run, I got one, this is my one big run at it.
Yeah.
And I am now in a position where I can't lose in some way.
Right.
Because the expectation for Indiana is never going to be 12-0 playoff top 3 every year. I don't think. Even if they look, they're having the run, but inevitably they'll come down, just like everyone does, except for Saban. So if I go to Penn State, now the reason for Penn State is he was, I think, a grad assistant at Penn State. I think
he's from Pittsburgh. He's from Pittsburgh.
Like there were connections there that made it a little different.
Yeah.
But there's still a panache to being at Ohio State, being at USC, being at Oklahoma, being at Alabama that Indiana is never going to have. Now, if you're an ego-driven guy, which, let's be honest, a lot of them are. And look, I mean, I talked to you about this years ago with me. Why did I want to work at Goldman Sachs?
Yep.
Because ego-wise, I thought I was good enough to do it. And I wanted to see if I could.
Yep.
Now, the opportunity never arose. No one's really crying for me in my life at this point, let's be honest. But I would have liked the opportunity to see what I could have done.
Sure.
It's why, Ferenz had coached in the pros before. Not as a head coach, but he was an assistant. He's a Midwest guy. He's making $3 million, $4 million a year living in Iowa, which is probably the equivalent of $10 million living in New Jersey. He's comfortable. They're never going to fire him. Campbell's younger. I think Campbell will make a jump at some point. I do. But I don't. But again, he's 40. He's got a lifetime deal there. So you really have to. If you are, I want to see. I've achieved what I can achieve here. I want to see if I can hit X. Let's take a shot at it. But not everyone's personality is that way.
Agreed.
I mean, you've said you never had any great desire to become a GC.
Yep.
If it happens to happen, that's great, but that's not your aspiration of life. Correct?
Yeah, correct.
I mean, you're at a great job. You make good money. Your hours don't kill you. And you may say, hey, you know what? It'd be nice to see if I could do it. I could pull it off. But you had a job like that and you weren't happy there.
Right. And so you feel that Cignetti is doing the exact same thing. This is his shot. This is his last job. Now he's earning $10 million a year. It better be his last job. Where's he going to go from here?
Yeah, they also upped his income. He's making 10. He has multi-generational wealth.
Yeah.
He is a beloved he has literally turned this into a football school, which is utterly insane. And what's the point? You go to yes, maybe you can do it at Penn State, maybe you can't, but it's not like he's 35 years old, and he's got the time to he's got time to move up that ladder, do 10 years at Indiana, then take a shot at something else. This is you take the stable, which is incredibly high, which is still a very high ceiling.
Yep.
And, I'm not sure that Penn State at this point, other than the reputation of being a football powerhouse and winning there, has a lot, matter. There's no difference.
Well, and that was going to be my next question. How many of those schools still carry the panache and it's warranted? Like you just made the case that Penn State may not be a warranted panache. Ohio State is a warranted panache.
Ohio State is a warranted panache. Michigan is a warranted panache. Oregon has become, in my mind, over the last 15 years, a warranted panache.
Okay.
University of Alabama.
Yeah. Is that it?
Maybe Texas. Maybe.
I don't think
so. I don't think that's warranted.
So when I say and granted, I think we use the word panache more times today than we probably have in 14 years. But when I say warranted panache, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth getting to that level, right? And taking on the risk of that? It's the Shaka Smart concept to me.
Yeah, it depends on your personality. I mean, Shaka is a perfect example. But Shaka was in an even better situation.
Right.
Because Shaka went to that school, University of Texas,
which
isn't a basketball school.
Right.
And it worked okay. And then he decided I'd rather be the big fish in a smaller pond.
Oh, no. That got decided for him.
Yeah, but I think to a degree it did. But he was there a while.
Yeah, but that got decided. That wasn't his choice.
But he wasn't getting to the level he wanted to get there. So whether it was decided for him or he decided on his own. Because I don't think he was fired. I think he.
Oh no, he was definitely fired.
Was he fired? I don't remember. I apologize.
Yeah.
In basketball, you look at these schools. How many of them are really warranted? USC over the last 10 years hasn't been overly impressive. Miami has been phenomenal this year, but over the last 20 years hasn't been overly impressive since 2003 for the most part. So who have been the most impressive schools over the last 15, 20 years? Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. Oregon's on Oregon and LSU are a half tier below. But I'll tell you, I wouldn't be surprised if half of the coaches from the 6 schools I just listed are in trouble by the end of the year. So it takes a certain personality. Look, we all want to be the best at what we can do and what we do. We all have certain aspirations. But it doesn't always mean that reaching those aspirations is a better fit than where you were previously.
Oh yeah.
But you want to try to take the shot on it. Kalen DeBoer goes to the national title game with the University of Washington, leaves for Alabama. Loses 3 games last year in his first year, and people want him out. You think that would have happened at Washington? Not in a million years.
Well, and I think that's what I was asking is how when I said the juice is worth the squeeze. To me,
I know it's from The Girl Next Door. I know the reference.
Oh no, I wasn't pointing out the reference. Really, I wasn't.
Look, very rarely do I get to.
I wasn't going there. What I was trying to say is it worth your agita? Is it worth?
It depends. Look, they're going to talk to Matt Rule. Matt Rule played at Penn State.
Yep.
He is building up Nebraska. He seems to be very happy at Nebraska. His wife runs a hair salon. His kids are in school there. But at the end of the day, he's a Penn State alum. For him, the juice may be worth the squeeze.
Yeah. And by the way, Matt Rule, I believe one of his best friends is now the AD at Penn State.
Correct, because they were coach AD at Temple. Yes,
that's certainly helpful.
Correct, but I think they're going to talk to a bunch of people.
Wait, so if Matt Rule goes to Penn State, does Scott Frost go back to Nebraska, and I can make this wild prediction that they're going to win a national championship again, and then I can because
I think there's a better chance of me becoming the head coach in Nebraska.
That would come full circle because right now he's back at Central Florida. So I mean, Central Florida.
Look, I'll make this pretty simple. We've hired a guy. He left to join another firm. He got fired. We brought him back. He then left us a month later. He ain't coming back.
Well, to be fair, Scott Frost got fired. He didn't leave.
Fair.
Which probably makes it even worse, quite frankly.
So look, we're going to have a heck of a coaching cycle next year. And it's going to be fun. I don't want to say fun because it's not fun to see anyone get fired. But look, Franklin's going to get a high-end job somewhere. There's going to be 4, 5, 6 pro jobs out there because there always is. There's going to probably, I wouldn't be, if LSU loses 2 more games, I wouldn't be surprised if they buy out Kelly.
Oh my Lord. How much? Well, that comes back to the same thing is how much buyout money is there? Is Brian Kelly's buyouts like $30 million, $40 million? More. Now, Andrew Brandt had a great article on SI.com, and I very rarely read it, but read SI.com anymore. But when we say buyout, and he wanted to make sure people understood this, when you say buyout, when it comes to college coaching, it is the remainder of the contract. It's not like a buyout in the NBA where you're buying out somebody for less money than they are supposed to earn. It is he earns $5 million for the next 7 years. The buyout is 35. That's math.
So I just opened Kelly's.
Yeah.
So Kelly's buyout is $53 million, which is 90% of his remaining salary and supplemental compensation.
No, is that the buyout? Somebody trying to buy him out?
No.
That's if they fire him?
Yes, that's if they fire him.
53, which would still be less than one Jimbo.
Jimbo Fisher was at $77 million.
Yeah, with no set-off, by the way. I want his attorney. Is that attorney wrote the greatest contract in sports?
Well, here's the deal with Kelly, and I'm assuming it's the same with Jimbo Fisher. Let's say Rule goes to Penn State. Jimbo Fisher goes to Nebraska. I'm just making up. He's not going to Nebraska. He is owed whatever is left, $60 million. If they pay him $30 million for $60 million, let's just say over 6 years, so $10 million a year. So if he has a $10 million a year, 10-year, 6-year contract for $30 million, $5 million a year, that $30 million goes against the $60 million.
It does. Hold on. It does for Kelly. It may for Franklin. It does not for Fisher. Fisher has no set off in his contract. 0. That's why Fisher's contract is so much different. No set off. Now, here's the musical chairs I'd love to see. Matt Rule takes Penn State, right? Some other team gets fired. There's another firing. I don't care where it is. Let's say it's Florida, okay? Which may happen. Billy Napier may be gone. Surprise, surprise, I know that the coach of Florida is Billy Napier.
I'm impressed.
Okay.
It's like me knowing random hockey information.
I want Jimbo to go back to LSU. I want that to happen. That may happen. There's no reason that can't happen. He didn't leave LSU on bad terms. Right? He was never the coach of LSU. He went from LSU, if I'm correct, to Florida State and became a head coach at Florida State, right? And then from Florida State, he went to Texas A&M.
I love this. I love that you are doing this. Yeah, he left LSU to become the OC at Florida. He went from the OC at LSU to the OC
at Florida State
before Bowden retired as his coach in waiting.
And then he became the coach at FSU. From FSU, he goes to Texas A&M, and from Texas A&M, they give him a pile of money and say, "Thank you very much for your time. Go enjoy your life." There is no reason Jimbo cannot go back to LSU, and it would make perfect sense for him to do that, because if Brian Kelly gets fired, then they don't have to pay him very much. They may not. They don't have to. He's still earning his money.
Correct. His buyout in 23 was at $77 million. So,
by the way, I never want to hear any school say I am poor. Any. None of these schools. I am so poor, yet I can pay out James Franklin $45 million. Well, it doesn't come from the same place. I don't care. Not one bit. I don't.
I think the bigger question is the AD at Penn State really going to make runs that are really interesting? Is he going to call Saban? Is he going to call Urban Meyer? Now, again, I don't think they'd be interested, but I wonder if you make the call.
I think Saban's getting back in the game. By the way, there's another interesting place. Brian Kelly gets fired and Nick Saban gets hired at LSU.
Goes back to LSU.
Why not?
I think the better way you do that is...
Oh, and by the way, Jimbo becomes his offensive coordinator.
That's not going to happen. Becoming an offensive coordinator. Although, if we're going to play that kind of thing, why don't we do this? Marcus Freeman goes to Penn State and Urban Meyer becomes the head coach of Notre Dame.
Ooh. I don't think Marcus Freeman sees Penn State as a...
Or Marcus Freeman goes to the NFL.
More likely. I don't
think Marcus Freeman is looking to go anywhere.
I think that's actually more likely, because how many jobs, in your opinion, on the panache, and we did not put Notre Dame in the panache because I don't believe Notre Dame's worth the panache, but how many jobs do you think a coach of Notre Dame thinks, obviously LSU is, but are better than a Notre Dame job?
Zero.
Brian Kelly did.
Brian Kelly got offered, $90 million to go to LSU, and thought he had peaked as a coach.
Okay, so you don't think he thought the job was better? You just thought he had run his course.
Yes.
Okay, so you think that there are no jobs that are better than Notre Dame?
No, I think that's not what I said. I said I think anyone who coaches Notre Dame thinks there are no better jobs than Notre Dame.
Okay, so he's not leaving for Penn State, is my point.
I don't think so, but you said let's throw some really fun shit out there.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this musical chairs. Do you think Urban Meyer coaches next year?
No.
Do you think Nick Saban coaches next year?
No, I don't.
Do you think Nick Saban coaches again?
No.
Okay, I definitely think Nick Saban coaches again. I think now that Lee Corso is gone, he doesn't have his guy. And I think he's coming back to the sidelines. It would be great if he could put Jimbo as one coordinator and put Urban Meyer as the other coordinator. And I can't pay and if you're LSU, you're like, I can't pay players more, but I can pay $100 million for this trifecta of coachings. And just have the three wise men. We could just call them that.
I think people who are attached to Notre Dame think Notre Dame is the end-all be-all.
I agree with that.
As someone whose closest affiliation to Notre Dame was I dated a girl who went there in 2001, I don't quite see that. I don't grasp that. They've been in...
Have you been in Notre Dame?
No.
Okay,
I broke up with the girl 2 weeks before the football season started. She broke up with me, whichever.
That was bad timing on your part. Just want to throw that.
I tried to still go. She was not impressed.
Okay, so I will be there on November 22nd, I think, about a month from now. So to see Syracuse get their asses spanked in South Bend. So I'll give you a firsthand account from what I think of that. But yeah, I mean, look, every person's school.
I believe we're gonna have a visitor.
Woohoo! Who we got? Well, it's hopefully the two.
Apparently, I'm going on 5-minute hiatus.
Oh, I thought the two young ones were in school. I was hoping. Anyway, Seth's going on a 5-minute hiatus because when he's home, he's not really home by himself. So this is one of those instances where he's not home by himself. Carly is around. So, yeah, I will be going to Notre Dame in a month. And from Notre Dame, I'll be going to Las Vegas, where I will watch Pittsburgh. The Browns play the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. And from there, some basketball will take place. Texas Tech playing Syracuse, and I believe it's Kansas playing Syracuse. And then off to Arizona for Thanksgiving, which will be great. I'm looking forward to that and spending Thanksgiving with my family for the first time in a really long time. It's been almost over a decade since I have spent Thanksgiving with them. We spent a lot of time on James Franklin and a lot of time on Penn State and the repercussions of this firing or letting go. And I think they're a little bit bigger than even we are alluding to here as to how this landscape is really changing. I mean, you're paying coaches $10, $12 million. Now, that's paid in the NBA. We have that. We don't have – only, I believe, 3 coaches in college are paid that. Football, you have Kirby Smart is paid that much. I think Caleb DeBoer in Alabama is paid that much. I think there's one other coach that's paid close to, if not more than $10 million plus Cignetti. And the salaries are just going up and up and up, which means the buyouts will go up and up and up. And if you have a short stick, if you have a short lever, whether those coaches will stay or go is based on how much fundraising you can do and how much of a bankroll you have at your particular school. As for Drew Allar, it's unfortunate. It really is. I still hope he becomes the Jets quarterback, as we have seen again and again. The Jets do not have a quarterback that can throw at all. Justin Fields putting up a whole 30 yards and in total negative passing yards in London, which was absolutely god-awful to watch. One of the worst football performances I've ever seen. And that's saying a lot when you're talking to a Jets fan. Really, really poor performance. But you know what? The Jets are just end the season. They're 0-6. There's absolutely no way that they are firing Aaron Glenn. None. If you are a Jets fan and watching this, unless Aaron Glenn does something so monumentally stupid over the next 10 weeks, such as, I don't know, cursing off the owner or flipping the bird. Well, we saw Jerry Jones. That doesn't necessarily mean that flipping the bird does very much. You are going to see Aaron Glenn back next year as the coach of the New York Football Jets, and truth be told, he should be. Seth is back, which is interesting because if you watched any of last night's game, you will note 2 things happened last night. First of all, Aaron Rodgers has turned on his team, which is awesome because the Aaron Rodgers experience did have to come to Pittsburgh. It just happened like 5 games later than I thought. If you saw that he and Mike Tomlin are arguing over whether a flea flicker was called. You know what, Aaron?
Really?
Who cares? Yeah. And then riding in on his white horse last night in replacement of Joe Burrow is our man. You know him, and I know him affectionately as Joe Willy Flacco, coming in. I don't know how old that guy. I think he's 39. He's played 18 years in the NFL, which is incredible that this man is still in the NFL. But Seth, did you watch the game last night? He was slinging it.
I saw the second half.
Okay.
Great.
And I'd like to point out as the one thing, first of all, Seth and Sean Sports Radio somehow eked out a win because a tackle was taken away from a Buffalo Bill player on Sunday night. As of Monday, we were tied, and as of Tuesday, we won. Yay. But I would like to point out, I am very thankful that I play in 3 fantasy football leagues, and not one of them did I play against Jamar Chase last night. Because, my Lord.
I have him in one league. I did not play against him in any. And the funny thing is he could have had more. He dropped 2 balls.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he absolutely – and he dropped one in the end zone. I mean, he had 30 points last night on 14 catches, which – 16 catches? Depending on your scoring, it could have been anywhere between 30 and 35 points. By the way, that didn't touch Bijan Robinson of the week before. But all these guys that you thought were going to be great fantasy players have suddenly shown up, which is great. Like, this is where the NFL thrives, is when the great players play great. And last night, it was nice seeing a undermanned Cincinnati team, severely undermanned, especially on the defense, being able to basically tell Aaron Rodgers to go piss off. But more importantly and more incredibly, I take my hat off to Mike Tomlin. I have no idea, Seth, how this team is 4-2. None. They were going through – ESPN had, and as a Jets fan, I need to do this now, has mock drafts already, week 6. So I'm looking at mock drafts, and that's where I got the Indiana quarterback. And I noticed that Pittsburgh was picking 28th in the NFL draft, and I was like, how is that possible? Oh, yeah, they're 4-1 and leading
the 4-1, yeah.
North. And leading the AFC North. This team, which sucks, this team which is starting Gerald Warren at running back and has DK Metcalf and nobody else and has Aaron bleeping Rodgers as their quarterback, is somehow in first place. And on their way to the 18th straight year they're going to be over 500?
Seemingly.
Kudos to Omar Epps. Oh, sorry, Mike Tomlin. Kudos to Mike Tomlin.
You saw his comment about Flacco going to Cincy, right?
Yeah, I loved it. Why would you not love it? Why would you not love the comment? For those that are unaware, he basically called out Andrew Berry, the Cleveland Browns general manager, and said, why on earth would you trade your starting quarterback within the division? Well, in the middle of the season. Well, Mike, Andrew Berry is not winning the division this year. He's not using Joe Flacco this year. So why would you not get a draft pick for Joe Flacco? Oh, Mike, you just noticed that he's playing you next week instead of Jake Browning. Oh, now I know why you're calling him out. Now I get it. Good on Andrew Berry should have said mind your own business. But I think he probably took the better road and said absolutely nothing.
I would assume so.
But good on Joe Flacco. Good on Joe Willy. We will not be picking you up.
I've come a long way on Joe Willy.
Can we make it
the most overrated player in my league in the NFL to one of my favorites? I like him a lot more at 40 than they did at 25.
I think we can make an assertion that unless Joe Burrow is out the rest of the year, Joe Flacco, the only reason Joe Flacco would make it onto the Seth and Sean team this year is as a hood ornament and a good luck charm for the playoffs. I could see him picking him up for like $1 in the championship game just to have him on the team if we win, so we can continually say we have Joe Flacco on the team. assuming that we have two other
Our team is
quarterbacks.
so damn deep that it may not be the worst thing in the world to have, because McCarthy hasn't been great.
Well,
he's
Joe
going to be
Flacco.
throwing to Higgins and Chase for the rest of the year.
Well, but Joe Flacco is not available. Like, we'd have to go get. Yeah, none of these guys are available. As we are well aware, as the newbie. By the way, we made a trade. First time we've made a trade in 2 years, but as the newbie in the league has found out, when he is starting both Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota, as I have continually told Seth, getting 4 quarterbacks in this league is a good idea every year, every single year. But you know what? Kudos to the Bengals, who saved their season last night. If they lose last night, they're done. They're done. Both more so because it's an interdivisional game than anything else, where they're playing against the Browns, against the Steelers, who are leading the division. They just got to hold on through mid-November, and then hopefully after we play the Dubs, does Joe Burrow come back? But yeah, good on Jamar Chase. Good on T. It was nice to see T. Higgins making an appearance with the touchdown, and I think 87 or 90 yards. Chase Brown.
He purposely skipped the second touchdown, which
was awesome.
That was
awesome. That's called. Granted, it may cost me my fantasy league this week, but T. Higgins putting himself down shows a real veteran play. I know I'm going to talk like Al Michaels or whoever else was on it, where they're like, yeah, it was a really veteran. Kirk Herbstreit goes, that was a very smart veteran play. Yeah, we all know that. Thanks, Kirk. Really appreciate that commentary. But yes, so good on them. Next week, just for scheduling, we will be doing our NBA preview, as we need to do that. We might actually do a full preview at some point this week, this year. That will be the first one that we will have a full preview of. Seth, I'm interested to hear what you believe, where you think players are going to go, and what division, what ranking they have. As ESPN, I saw a ranking yesterday of the Cleveland Cavaliers 5 games over 500 as a prediction. With the Magic. Yeah. They had we'll go through ours next week.
Ridiculous.
Remember, they are missing a couple of really key guys for the first 2 to 3 months of the season. No Darius Garland for 2 to 3 months. No Max Strus for 2 to 3 months. They're not the deepest of teams. They're going to be starting DeAndre Hunter, who is not exactly the epitome of health. His back is probably worse than mine, which is really sad. His knees are definitely worse than mine, which is also sad. So last year, the Cavs were able to get by with giving Donovan Mitchell very little minutes during the regular season.
Yeah,
and now,
wait a minute. They picked up Lonzo Ball.
They did.
Who is more of a point guard than Garland is. Garland's
sure. Okay, so Lonzo Ball, and we'll get more into this next week, but how many minutes do you think?
They picked up Larry Nance Jr., who's a serviceable bench player. They picked up Thomas Bryant, who's a serviceable bench player.
Yep.
They're going to be 46 and 36?
I would literally
duel and just start on that alone.
It's not 46 and 36. 46 is, it's 82. Yep. I don't know. I think, first of all, and we'll get more into this, but Lonzo Ball, nice player, 20 minutes, 25 a game, maybe. Not playing back-to-backs with those knees. Like, where's your guard rotation?
You've set the bar. That bar is so low. This team won 64 games last year. 63? You're telling me there's a 19-game difference.
Oh, I'm not saying it. I'm saying that's what ESPN had.
I mean, I don't know if Milwaukee would drop 19 games if they traded Giannis.
Oh, yes, they would. That team is bloody awful.
They get.
Who the hell is scoring without that? Is Kevin Porter Jr. leading your team?
Well, you get my point.
Yeah, I do.
From Cleveland got traded. Garland will be back by Thanksgiving, early December. You have 4 top 100 players in Allen, Garland, Mobley, and Mitchell.
Sure.
You have 3 or 4 guys. You have a bench of 3 or 4 guys with Strus and Bryan and Nance and Ball.
And the East sucks.
That makes absolutely no sense.
Okay, before we go, we got one more topic, and then we'll move on. Have you watched any of the baseball? Any?
No.
Do you have any interest in watching the baseball?
I would. I've just been working like a dog. But I mean,
understood.
I really wanted to see Milwaukee, Seattle. Rooting for like watching the Dodgers as, I mean, it's probably like watching the Yankees in the 1920s. You have 6 Hall of Famers, 8 All-Stars, whatever you want to call it. The team is ridiculous. And
well, it was said at the beginning of that series, Milwaukee being in the bottom third of payroll, and obviously the Dodgers being, well, the Dodgers, that this was the outcome of this series was very much going to dictate how the labor negotiations after 2026 season go. Because if Milwaukee was able to beat the Dodgers, and granted, it's a very, very small sample size, but still a sample size nonetheless. Owners can make the case players can make the case that it doesn't matter what the disparity between salaries are. The 19th team in the major leagues beat the first. I think that's complete horseshit because, again, small sample size. But that was the key. Now you're seeing the Dodgers basically do what the Lightning did in the NHL, is everybody was on the injured list for the first half of the year. And then, they can only pitch 100 innings? That's great because they're only pitching half a season anyway. I'm rolling out 7 all-star starters, and this is what I'm going to do, right? Yeah, I think we're going to have a labor problem. I think we're going to have a strike. I think we may lose another season because I think a salary cap is inevitable. And it should be, but the problem is when you talk about salary caps, guys, the money then goes back to the owners. So it's either players or owners, right? So it really depends on what that percentage split is and how it all works out. The NBA seems to have gotten a grasp out of the 50-50 split. The NHL is finally there after escrow and losing a season. The question is, are we going to lose another baseball season, Seth? I don't know. We might. Do you care?
No.
That's the worst part.
Yep.
That's the apathy. Okay. We got 5 minutes left. I'm going to go really quickly. And because something happened this week that brought me back to my childhood. And I am so excited by this. When I was a kid, and I think I've alluded to this on this show, there was a game called Lakers versus Celtics. And you played it on your video games. You played it on your computer. You played it on your video system. And you could put whatever starting lineup you wanted in the game. So my starting lineup was, for the Lakers, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at center, Michael Thompson at the power forward, Eldon Campbell at the small forward, James Worthy at the shooting guard, and Magic Johnson at the point guard. And there was no guy that was under 6'9" on that entire – and I never lost a rebound. I also couldn't stop anybody on defense, but I never lost a rebound, and I kind of blocked anything that came into the middle. If you look at what the Rockets threw out there this week, their point guard was Ahmed Thompson at 6'7". Their shooting guard was – who did they throw out? They threw out sorry, I'm missing
this. Eason?
No, they threw out a 6'10" guy. Eason's 6'8". So I think they actually went positionless. I think they went with Amen Thompson at 6'7", Kevin Durant at 6'11", Şengün at 6'11", Jabari Smith at 6'10", and Steve Adams at 6'11", and basically played KD at the 2, or Jabari Smith at the 2. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my Lakers versus Celtics dream lineup, because Amen Thompson can guard anybody. I mean, that team defensively is amazing. Except they can't guard anybody on the perimeter, and they have no ball handling. And they have, aside from KD, no shooting. So spacing might be a little bit of a problem. But if you want to watch something this Wednesday, watch the Rockets, because I think that will be one of the funniest lineups and something I've been looking forward to for 20 years. Next week, we'll do our show probably on Tuesday or Wednesday, trying to get in before the NBA. I am so looking forward to the NBA season as my Mets and Jets. And, yeah. By the way, congratulations to Matt Schaefer, who set the rookie record yesterday. 4 points in 4 games. Maybe the Islanders have something to look forward to. First win of the year against the Edmonton Oilers. You're up, sir. Right.
I don't know how
to
follow up something as moving and touching as that. So I'll just call it.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you guys next week. Work beckons. Have a good one, everybody. See ya.